Hello everybody, welcome back to another build concepts tutorial with me, Jenfire. First of all, I would like to say a big thank you for all the lovely feedback I got from you guys on my first tutorial. Today we are going to be looking at some color basics. Now, questions I've been getting asked are, how do I get away from using the same blocks over and over again? What are good block combinations? What looks good together? What are some good block palette ideas? And how can I choose one for my build? Well, that's what today is all about. I'm going to help you help yourself. So we're going to start with some basic color theory. The color theory was developed by Sir Isaac Newton when he was identifying light shone through a prism. And he identified 12 colors. Now they're shown on this. This is a color wheel. We have our primary colors, our secondary colors, and our tertiary colors. Primary colors, your red, yellow, and blue. Secondary colors come from mixing these. So we've got red and blue make purple. We've got red and yellow make orange. And we've got yellow and blue make green. Tertiary colors come from mixing primary and secondary colors together, as you can see here on the rest of the wheel. Now our wheel is split up here into warm colors and cool colors. Warmer ones being the ones with the red tones, cooler ones being the ones with the blue tones. Complementary colors. These are opposite each other on the color wheel. Split complementary colors. Again, we're going to use this one as an example. If we look opposite it and then we look to either side of that one, these are our split complementary colors. Generally, if you're looking at a complementary color, there is a group of 5 opposite that will work well together. Here I've laid out all the pigmented blocks that are currently in the game. And here I've laid out a grayscale. Grayscale is a naturally contrasting palette from white to black that contains no pigment. The contrast is how well things will stand out from the grayscale. Moving on, we have 16 different colors in Minecraft. They are white, light gray, gray, black, brown, red, orange, yellow, green, lime, green, cyan, light blue, blue, purple, magenta, and pink. And as you can see here, there are various different things that you can craft with them, from banners, glass, wool, terracotta, glazed terracotta, concrete powder, concrete, and even beds that you can add a splash of color to your builds. Now, this tutorial is for every level of builder, so we're going to start with the basics. If you don't know how to get these colors, I'm about to run through where to get the dyes from. If you already know this, you can skip ahead. You can pause it, you can rewatch it. I have been through this before on one of my banner tutorial builds, but we're just going to quickly run through it again. Like I said, if you know this already, you can skip ahead. Oh, very quickly, here are the colors. We have the white dye, which you can get from the Lily of the Valley flower. You can get it through composting plants and materials. You can get it from fishing. Now, it's worth noting that in one version of the game, you'll get bones, and in the other version of the game, you will get bone meal from fish. So we've got a Java and a Bedrock difference there. You can get them from skeletons dropping bones, or you can get them from the Soul Sand Valley biome, where you've got the bone blocks. Again, turning these into bone meal, turning them into white dye. The light grey is a combination of white dye and black dye, or the white tulip, oxeye daisy, or azure flowers. Grey dye, again, is a mixture of white and black. And black itself can come from two sources. The ink sacs that the squid drop, which you'll find in the river biome or the oceans. They quite often like to beach themselves on the shore, so it's quite easy to get a hold of. Or from the wither rose. Now, that's a slightly more expensive and dangerous way of getting it. Most people go with the squid. Brown dye you can get from the jungle on these cocoa pods which grow on the jungle trees. You get this from turning cocoa beans into dye. Red dye you can get from the roses, the poppies, or the red tulip. Now, it's worth noting again, there is a Java and a Bedrock difference here. In Bedrock, you can bone meal the 1 high flowers. In Java, you can only bone meal the 2 tall. Orange, you can do the orange tulip or a combination of red and yellow dye. Now, as I stand right now, we have just been told about a snapshot where there are new mobs called sniffers, which get ancient seeds, which get you the torch flower. Now, it is rumored that these torch flowers will be another source of orange dye. But as it stands at the minute, that's just a snapshot. Yellow, you can get from the dandelion or the sunflower. The sunflower, it's got its back to us because it is a directional flower and only points east. So that's handy if you ever need to find out which way you're facing. The lime dye you can get from pickles. Pickles you can find in the warm ocean biomes and the coral reefs, or in the desert buildings, in the desert villages. Specifically, the one with the sandstone middle and the terracotta corners. Or you can smush green and white together. Now, green itself comes from the cactus running through a furnace. And you can also use that to make cyan dye. Cyan is my favorite color in the game. The light blue you can get from the orchids, which are found in the swamp, or by putting the blue and the white together. And blue itself can come from lapis, which you'll find in ore form in either stone or deep slate, or from the cornflower. There are a lot of things that use blue. And here's another one. The purple is red and blue together. Magenta you can get from the lilac or the allium, or I believe you can put a couple of other colors together, but the easiest way for these is the flowers. And then last but not least, the pink, which you can get from the peony, the pink tulip, or the red and the white dye. And all of these, of course, the dyes, the flowers, saplings, which we're going to cover later on, these can all be found from this guy and his menagerie of stinky llamas. Yes, there are llamas alive on my test world. Don't have a heart attack. Jen doesn't like llamas. Something else to consider when you're choosing a palette as well are your types of light. For example, we have here the 3 new frog lights, which you can see have different colors around them. You get these from feeding the 3 different types of frog a small magma cube, and they spit those out. You've got the glowstone, commonly found in the nether. You've got the redstone lamp, which is craftable. The shroom light, which we will see later on, is on 2 of the fungus trees. You have your campfire, torch, and lantern in the warm colors, but also in the soul version, so you can have it in a cool version as well. And then the sea lantern from ocean monuments and underwater ruins. Of course, we have got my favorite, which is fire. That's a little bit dangerous, particularly if you've got fire tick turned on. That's something to be aware of as well, guys. If you're in survival, have you got fire tick on, and are you using flammable materials? Now, in Bedrock, you can get RTX, and in some RTX packs, these two give off a light as well, so that is worth a mention. We also have the new Glow Lichen, which can stick to pretty much any surface, and the Glow Berries as well if you want a nice little floral light instead. Additionally to the lights, we also had the candles. So we got the 16 different variants of colors candles, and then the plain candle as well. And as you can see here, just like pickles, you can have 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then the pickles themselves, when underwater, give off a light source as well. And again, they can be 1, 2, 3, and 4s with different strengths of light. So that's all the dyes and the lights covered. We're going to quickly run through the trees again. You can skip forward if you know all this already. Here we have our oak, which is your bog standard plains biome or oak forest. Is worth noting as well that your azalea also gives oak wood, but will also give you this nice little pink flower in the leaves. And you get that by bone mealing moss to get these saplings. My personal favorite spruce found in the taiga biomes. My favorite because it actually matches the barrels here. The barrels are good for storage. We have our lighter wood, which is our birch. Jungle wood, only found in the jungle biomes. Acacia wood is your orangey wood, only found in the savanna biomes. And then your darkest wood, which is dark oak. It's worth mentioning as well that you will find these alongside our 2 mushrooms. If you want these, you need Silk Touch. Well, you also find these 2 mushrooms in the mushroom biome as well, in the Mycelium Islands. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've just been given a snapshot. In the snapshot, we're going to be having bamboo wood and cherry blossom wood. But as it stands, I don't currently have access to those. So currently, our newest wood is this. The mangrove. It's got this lovely deep red color. And it's worth mentioning as well that it's the only trapdoor that has a circular pattern. Now, these are found in the mangrove swamps, which are a little bit rarer. They're also a pain to gather as well because of the way in which they grow. But I think because of the color, they are worth seeking out. As you can see here, you can see one of the shroom lights here. These are the 2 fungi trees. These come from the fungus. And these are found in the nether. You've got your warped, which is your cyan variant, and you've got your crimson, which is your nice purpley variant here as well. A note on these 2 guys, these 2 woods are non-flammable, so that's something to consider as well, again, if you're in survival. Something else is worth looking at as well, if we come back to our color wall here, is textures. Now, as you can see, this is an incomplete grid, because the game does not contain every shade of every color. So the color that you may be looking for might be inside a texture. So have a look at the texture blocks and see if there is something in there that might be useful to you. Going back to the biomes quickly there, one thing that I used to do when I was teaching myself to build is I went to a specific biome. I went to each of them individually and I had a look at what was around me. I had a look at the trees, I had a look at what was naturally occurring, and I tried to make block palettes out of what was naturally occurring. That's something you can do as well to challenge yourself. Try and use local materials in different biomes and see what you can come up with. I would love to see some pictures in the Discord of stuff like this. If you want to come and join us, here's the link. Now, within the game itself, we have a lot of grayscale blocks like your stones and your andesites and your cobble. And then we have a lot of the wood types as well. And both of these materials are really easy to gather. So your standard style tends to lean towards the favor of medieval style builds. And that's what we're going to try and break away from today. So here's how we are going to pick a palette. We're going to pick a palette together, and then we're going to build something from it. And we're going to do it twice. We're going to do it once in the normal, what I would consider normal easy blocks, and once in our color palette. And we're going to see what differences it makes. So we're going to look over here at our color wheel again for a second. And I am going to choose this as my main color. I'm going to look across and I'm going to pick 2 to 3 complementary blocks. So these are the colors we've got so far. We've got our cyan, which is my main one, and the complementary from the group of 5 complementary colors opposite on the color wheel. From the grayscale, I've decided to go with the quartz because that has stairs and slabs variants as well. The 3 main ones from your grayscale are your quartz, your stones, and your black stones. Also deep slate as well now. These all have stairs and slabs variants, as well as different texture blocks. And I think I'm going to go with spruce because spruce is my favorite wood and it's a naturally contrasting one with the quartz block. So now we're going to go over here to our palette. I'm going to pick 2 or 3 of each of these just to break up some texture. And we'll have a look at what our palette looks like. So this is what I've ended up with. Don't forget as well, you can use badge, you can use banners, you can look at the colors within the texture blocks as well and use the foliage in your block palette. So you don't have to use all of these. This is just a rough idea of what works well together. Now here we have a nice little tower, but in the easily gathered materials. We've got stone, stone brick, and your bog standard oak. Now I'm going to build this again now, but I'm going to mix in some of this color palette. So the main body of it is going to be the quartz, and we're going to swap out some of the other colors as well. I think I've got to a point where I'm happy with this. You can see I've added extra details like the vines all around. I've added the banners. I've added a floor on the inside. I've added the flowers around the outside. And I've even added a flag on the top. These are various ways in which you can use your palette. In addition, I've added lights. I've added little window frames. And I've added little fence posts here as well. And I have put some of our main color up through the roof as well for a little bit of extra detail. Now, you might not like this palette. It might not be for you. But each to their own. I've finally got to a point where I'm happy with this. But this is just an example of what you can do to change up a build using a palette that you've created using the colors in the game and color theory. I'm going to go back over to my test build now, and I'm going to show you a couple of palettes that I had already put together. More gradients of what merges into what. Let's have a look. This right here is one of my favorites. Now, you can tell I did this when the mud bricks came out because the mud bricks here are my dominant color. You can see I've got some rooted dirt in there, normal dirt, and coarse dirt. And I tried to bleed that out into different colors. Here we have a darker palette. We have going into a more natural, into our stone and our foliage. And then trying to branch off into different colors. This one lent itself to a granite color with brick. And then using the copper tones, we moved into the cyans and the blues. This is one of my favorite ones because it went quite a bunch of different ways. I have a couple of ice palettes here for an ice nether tunnel that was done on season 4 of Truly Bedrock. This is one that me and Slack came up with. Using the ice, using the snow. This was for a snow tunnel in the nether. Over here, I was trying to find a grayscale that went good with amethyst, but also with lava as well. I was trying to work on some underground / nether projects on this one. I do like the amethyst vein. You can see the contrast as well from the darker blocks to the lighter blocks and the grayscale behind it there. I do enjoy that. And I showed you this in the last video as well, how you can add lights into your color palette. Now, 4 of the lights in particular in the game have a border. The sea lantern has a cyan border that lends itself to this palette. And the 3 frog lights also have a border as well, so they lend themselves to other palettes. And you can see I've put other blocks with them there as well. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful to you, but also I would like to know what your favorite block in the game is. Mine is the red nether brick. 1, it's easy-ish to acquire. 2, I like the red tones. I also like the sound when you walk over it. What is your best palette? What is the one that you work with the most? I think that's all I've got time for today. Thank you for watching. If you have liked this, don't forget to leave a like and a comment. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's anything else that you would like a build tutorial on. You can come and join us in the Discord. You can come and watch us live on Twitch and interact with me in person. I do have a Patreon support page as well. And there's also the Twitter as well. The links are down below. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Happy building. Bye!